Hi, I'm Brittney Ashley, your host of Breaking Norms, Building Dreams, your guide through this transformative journey in both business and life. This is your place crafted for dreamers, doers, or anyone who has been told they can't. Get ready as we challenge those narratives together. You're tuning in live to the United Public Radio Network, airing on 105.3 and 107.7 FM in New Orleans. We are streaming on all the popular platforms every Monday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Join me for a candid and thought-provoking conversation celebrating your unique journey because you are worth it. Hello, everyone. Happy Monday, if we can believe it, that we are at Monday again and almost at the end of the month. I was just saying to Patricia that I've been super sick. Why no one has seen me for some time, but I'm back here Monday.
You made it. You made
I
it.
made it. For anyone new here, welcome to Breaking Norms, Building Dreams. I'm your host, Brittney Ashley, and we are broadcasting live on the United Public Radio Network and UFO Paranormal Radio Network on 105.3 and 107.7 in New Orleans. Get ready to escape the next hour as we break norms and build dreams with Patricia today. Well, you've been on the show again before. It's actually been a whole year, hey?
Yes, it has.
I was actually looking at our old notes. I'm like, oh, it's been almost a year.
It is. That's crazy. You
Crazy.
know,
Well, welcome back.
thank you so much. I was just like we were talking about um, it's just like you think things sound far away, and then all of a sudden they're here, and you're like, wow, a whole year. How is that possible? And
It
yet here we are. It's just like when you have kids. They just grow so fast, and you're like, this feels like it's forever. When you have a newborn, you're like, I'm never sleeping ever again, and all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, you're like a real human now.
right? You blink and they're already almost off to high school or whichever.
Yeah.
Well, I'll do a little introduction for those who do not know Patricia. Patricia helps moms with adult ADHD work with their unique brains and get their ish, is it ish? Their ish together.
Well, I wasn't sure if we were allowed to say swear words,
Okay.
so ish is my substitute word.
That not copyright. One step at a time and feel confident running their family life. She hosts Motherhood in ADHD, a top 5 parenting podcast encouraging mamas with practical strategies and reliable missteps. Snag your free resources and get your crap together with other ADHD moms in a successful mama meetup at www.motherhoodadhd.com, which I'll put all the links as we chat more today, so anyone can connect with you on your website, the new book, which we'll dig into, your IG. So I'll make sure we'll have them all accessible for everybody.
Thank you.
But yeah, thank you for coming on the show again. I was super excited to have you back on.
Me too. I mean, I could talk about this stuff every day, all day, so I'm happy
Mhm.
to be here. And
I'm
it's good
so
to have someone who gets it. It makes it so much easier.
It does, right? Just an FYI for anyone listening to, we had some technical issues in the world today, if no one knows. So I can see the show's just a little bit running on. It keeps flashing at me. So if we disconnect, I apologize.
Yes, as technology is really amazing until it doesn't work, and then you're like, wow, this is hard.
It is.
We're on
It
the
is.
shuttle bus.
Well, everything and everything right now is not working. Just like I just mentioned to you, like anything that I wanted to do for client work, I have to move it down the list because I can't access Canva, or every other little thing that I feel like wouldn't be affected today is affected. So
Hmm.
I guess today's like a slow Monday.
I will appreciate that because just like you were saying, you've been recovering. One of my kids had a stomach bug
Yes.
this weekend, and so I'm gonna take that slow Monday and say thank you to the universe and to the world, and be like, I could use a slow day today. That's for
Yes.
sure.
And just
But yeah,
like just
we'll hope that everything rolls out just fine.
yes. We'll be positive. The hour goes by super fast.
It does, especially when you're talking to people you like.
Yes. Well, maybe you can just, I know I did my little bio of you, but maybe you can just remind everybody else who Patricia is, what you do, and how you got started.
So I am an ADHD coach for moms. So not moms of kids who have ADHD, but actual moms who have ADHD. Now, there's a pretty good chance they also have kids with ADHD because it is linked through families. However, my job is to specifically help moms. So my background is in education. I taught middle school for many years, and I always thought I would go back to the classroom when once my kids were back in school. But God had other plans for me, and I started the podcast 6.5 years ago. So I've got almost 300 episodes of ways to support
Amazing.
moms who have ADHD, which is like just crazy to me. Um, Especially some with ADHD, it's like usually I don't stick with things that long. It's like once I got the hang of it and I'm good at it, I'm like, well, brush that off. Next on the list. So that's
That's true.
this was meant to be what I'm doing if I'm still here 6.5 years later and 300 episodes
Yeah.
later. I have not gotten bored yet. And so in that
That.
started as like the podcast, then it moved into like teaching courses on for moms, like how do you do time management and how do you figure out your plan and actually stick with the things that you come up with and not just make a plan and then like it looks cute and you made it into like Pinterest worthy beauty like chart and then you never looked at it again.
Mhm.
And then it came into, I started coaching and meeting with clients one-on-one and in groups and helping moms really figure out like how do you live well with ADHD? How do you
Mhm.
be successful with it? How do you actually enjoy being a mom and not just like hating your day and wishing you were back in bed? Like how do we create an environment, systems that work for you and lean into who you are, and it's not just this like shame cycle of like you're the suckiest human that ever lived. You really can figure out how to do this well when you have help, when you have somebody who understands how your brain works. um
Yes.
and so that's how I ended up where I am now. That's it.
Amazing.
Who knew? But here I am.
I love it. And I feel like the universe, we're just talking about the universe in general, but I find like the universe sometimes pushes us in directions. Sometimes you're like, I'll just talk about me for a minute. Every time I would go to a 9 to 5 job and I would start Crave Dynamics, kind of like a side hustle, not thinking like, yes, I was really passionate about, yes, I really wanted to see it be these big things, but but I still needed income because I think we still live in that world of scarcity. So we still want to make sure there's that kind of steady flow of income. And so every time I'd go get a 9 to 5, I kid you not, like within 6 to few weeks, be like fired or just let go or just couldn't do it anymore. The universe just kind of like kept bringing me back to Curve Dynamics. And the amount of times, I kid you not, and this year alone, I've keep seeing 111s, like across of everywhere. Where which if you're really into angel numbers, it just means that you're in alignment of the right path and keep like following your intuition, following your gut. Like the guides will guide you. And then like I've never really fully like believe that stuff, but the amount of times, I'm not even kidding you, that I've seen those numbers out of the odds, it's just been bananas. Or where I feel like super low of like, I give up on this. If I'm going to go take a break and get a coffee, and like if that person in front of me doesn't give me a free coffee, I quit. And it's like I've random like ridiculous things like that, right? But I got a coffee. I'm like, what is the universe trying to tell me?
Stick with it. It's hard. It's even, I think sometimes we get this idea that like if it was meant to be, it'd be really easy. And that's
Yeah.
not always true. Like sometimes, yeah, it is really easy because you're living into like your values and like what you're good at. But
Mhm.
like the world is still hard. Like things are still hard and it doesn't always have to be easy to show that like it's meant to be. And
Mhm.
anytime we're in these challenges, that growth is what, well, like those challenges would help us grow, and that's
Exactly.
how we get better at what we're doing when we go through struggles. That's how we relate to people. Like all
Mhm.
of that hard stuff makes us better people, helps us grow. Like, and so, yeah, sometimes, you just want to throw in the towel. Like I have the same thing of like, man, like this running your own business is not for the faint of heart. And even though I love what I do, when you're an entrepreneur, you're doing what you do, but then you're also doing all the other stuff that comes
Mhm.
with you're running your own business. And so it's like, yes, some parts of my job I love and they're so easy. And the other parts it's like, wow, I am going to have to like do some YouTube research or find someone who knows a lot about this and learn how to do something new. And those are also the things that like help me grow and realize like, hey, I tried this really hard thing. I learned a lot from it. I learned also that I don't want to do it anymore. And
Yeah.
I'm going to outsource that. But that is how we grow as an entrepreneur, as a leader, as a person. And so, yeah, sometimes even when we're doing what we're really meant to do, sometimes it's still really hard and you want to throw in the towel. So I don't blame you at
Yeah.
all.
Well, it's like a roller coaster, and then we throw in kids in the mix too. So it
Yes.
it
And
just makes it even more fun and interesting for us.
yeah. I mean, I was lamenting today to my business coach that I have like my kid had the stomach bug over the weekend. And so like my house is still in chaos where there's like, sheets out and, the throw up buckets still. I have to put all that away. And our taxes are due today because we filed for an extension. So we had to like get all this tax stuff done. And my kids have 2 half days this week because it's parent teacher
Of course.
conferences. And it's like, okay, well, my 5-day week just turned into like maybe like 2/3 of a day that I have left to get stuff
Yeah.
done. And you're like, okay, I don't know how this is all going to happen, but just
You
keep
know
on
what?
trucking.
You know what I've tried to do for anyone listening to is I think we as moms too, we put so much pressure on ourselves on a daily basis slash weekly basis. And I'm such a perfectionist. I've learned, I think after having kids has helped me not to be a perfectionist per se, but it still shows up. Like I can see it show up in so many different ways, but it's how I kind of respond to the perfectionist piece and how I let move things go and try to give myself more grace in certain areas. So, like I was just saying, I was super sick for the last 3 weeks. I felt like completely death, completely foggy brain. Like I completely felt not when I had meetings. Like I don't even remember my meetings the last few weeks because I also was on having medication, like
Yes.
daily just to get through the day so I can have the meetings. But
Yeah.
I'm like, I really could not remember half the things. So at the end of the day, I was like to myself, I was like, you know what, your body is telling you need to focus on you right now and you need
Yeah.
to focus on getting better. So minimize how much work you do in the daily and make sure you rest, sleep, and then you still have to take care of kids in between. I remember the very
Yeah.
first day when I was like getting the kids to school, I think I like really pushed myself just to drop them off. And I was like, feel like they should have like a bus system that moms can call in and be like, I'm sick today, come pick up my kids.
Like
They're
a
so- yeah.
substitute Uber bus situation. No, for sure. Because I mean, that's something I work a lot with clients on is like we expect ourselves to be able to do all the things,
Mhm.
even when like just life happens, kids happen, stomach bugs happen.
Yeah.
And because like, there was that one time 2 years ago that we had that unicorn day where we did so many things and we got the whole to-do list done and we reorganized the entire pantry and it was just like the greatest day that ever lived. And then we compare all the following days to that same level of excellence, that same level of like inhuman productivity that we accomplished that one time. And we don't give ourselves that grace to be human and to know like we're raising humans, and you don't get to choose when your toddler has a meltdown, you don't get to choose when your kid gets the stomach bug. And so we do a lot of work around like, well, what is the bare minimum, like on
Mhm.
your value system, what's the bare minimum that has to get done? Like, is laundry, does it need to get like, does laundry have to get done? It's like if you have 6 kids, you might be like, yeah, laundry has to get done no matter what because I got too many humans to clothe. And then
Yeah.
other people be like, you know what, the laundry can sit there for another week and I'll live. And so you figure out like what are the most important things for your family and for you to be able to get done. And then that way your measuring stick is such a smaller list of like, okay, well, when disaster strikes, the only things I have to do are like feed everyone, put their clothes on, get them out the door, and
Mhm.
everything else can fall by the wayside. And you might have 7 things on that list that have to get done, but like knowing like, hey, it's okay if you didn't also run errands and put gas in your car and while you're dealing with this extra thing, whether it's the stomach bug or whether it's like an elderly parent who needs help, like things are always going to show up. And like you
Yes.
said, like having that perfectionist meter of like, I mean, most of my clients fall in that category of like recovering
Mhm.
perfectionist, and knowing like where is it that that perfectionism is helpful to you and where it drives you to do your best. And then on the flip side also, where is it hurting you and where is it like
Yeah.
upholding these unrealistic expectations that are just not possible in the season that you're in. because you're not stuck there forever. But like right now in this season, what do you need?
100%. And I know we were just talking too about like taxes, because I just filed my year end for my business, and like it was coming to the due date, and I'm pretty on top of it, but like sometimes you're waiting for the accountant or vice versa.
Yeah.
And I just remember like kind of stressing out of like, it felt like it was out of my control. And so I was kind of spiraling a little bit, but then it's like, okay, deep breath, take a step back. You know that you've done everything you can do to get those documents, say, in the accountant's hand. At this point, like there's only so much you can do, unfortunately. But like I'm like also too, like I'm a stickler on like, I don't want the CRA to call me. I don't want it in my phone. Here's my money. Leave me alone.
Yes. And that like we have to learn that grace for ourselves. And it's hard because especially when you are neurodivergent, like you've put so many systems and rules in place for yourself so that you don't fail, so that you're able to keep up with all the things that people are telling you that you need to be doing or should be doing. And as you grow up and become an adult and you realize like, oh wow, I get to choose a lot of these things. I get to decide what is like a real rule and not a real rule. Like for example, last night we were out to dinner at a very family friendly restaurant, and it has this like play area outside, and I was going to meet up at a friend's after dinner, and right as I'm about to leave, I go to say bye to my oldest who's 10, and I don't see him anywhere. So I asked my husband like, hey, where is he? I'm going to say goodbye. And he's like, oh, I don't know. I asked my other kid, he doesn't know. All of a sudden, like my kid's missing. So, you like sheer panic. You're like, there's like this chaos of children on the playground area, and we're trying to find him. And, so my husband runs to check the restroom, and he's in there. And he's like, well, I told my cousin where I was. Yeah. Did my 7-year-old nephew mention that he was in the restroom as we are all panically, whatever that word is. Like we are panicking and looking for Elijah. And at no point does my nephew say he's in the bathroom. So then, because we ended up looking for him, I ended up being like 10 minutes late to the event that I had afterwards. And I felt so awful because as someone who's neurodivergent, I have often been late in my life, and I've worked really hard not to be late at things. And I was like panicking when I was driving there. Like, again, I'm still like, I'm running behind. And then of course I missed the turn, which means I'm another 3 minutes late. Like, and it's just adding on, and like getting to that point to be like, you know what? The reason you were late is because your kid was missing.
Yeah.
You weren't just like, cool, let me like watch 5 more minutes of this TV show. It's not that. You were trying to make sure that your child was safe, and that is an okay reason to be late. It sucks that you're running late. I'm sorry that everybody else was waiting on me. But I also know that all those other people in the room, if their kid was missing, they would also be like, yes, I am going to be late to this thing so I can find my kid and make sure that they're okay. And like rewriting that story in our minds instead of like, oh, wow, you're such a horrible human. Why don't you know where your kid is? You're running late because you were irresponsible. It's like turning that like narration around when, first of all, most of us don't even realize that that's happening. But to be like, no, this is not the case. You're not being lazy. You're not being irresponsible. You are making sure your child's okay. And if any of these people were like, hey, you should have been on time, none of them are going to be like, oh, wow, your kid was missing. Oh, well, you should have just left anyway. And if they were, I don't care about their opinion. They are not somebody's opinion I value. So it's like that, walking through that and being able to recognize like this was not a life this was not my like moral failing as a human that I was running behind to this event.
Yeah.
That was a good decision. But a lot of times we don't give ourselves that grace. It's just that old narration that's like, here, you messed up again. And that's really hard for so many of us.
100%. And putting on top of being like a people pleaser too. So for me, like it's taken like anyone listening and they're like, oh, like they talk about this as I'm doing a presentation on Saturday, and it's all about being authentically who you are, unapologetically you, and overcoming imposter syndrome, money trauma, and all these things. And I was reading through my notes and I was like, oh, I feel like they're going to think I'm like mastering this because I'm talking about it. And it's like, no, like I'm still doing it every single day. Like I struggle with imposter syndrome every single day because those who have neurodivergence tendencies and or ADHD, dyslexia, or anything under the sun, it shows up so much more for us. And so it's just like, I want the world to understand, whoever's listening, that even though it looks like we're talking about all these things as if we're experts, and yeah, we've done this a long time, but we've worked so hard to overcome, fix our mindset, repivot when things start to spiral, because we understand why we need to kind of pivot and understand and reframe some of how we're talking to ourselves, because we wouldn't talk to our friends like that.
No, there's no way. Like the same thing is like one of my friends was like, "Hey, I'm running behind because I couldn't find my kid at a busy restaurant." I'd be like, "Oh my gosh, do you need me to drive over there and help?" Is what I would say. Not, "Oh, I'm so annoyed at you for being late."
Exactly.
So while I'd never say that to a friend, why am I saying that to myself?
Mm-hmm.
And I really hope that there comes a day where I don't speak to myself like that. But even if it's not, like you said, like I'm working on that every day. I'm using my tools and reminding myself to have grace and forgiveness when things go wrong. And it's not, I don't think that there's like this end destination where we're like, you know what? I am a grown up who has it all figured out. I've made it. Like, I don't think that day comes. So it's okay for us um, to have struggles. But again, like that's what makes it relatable. That's why you want to listen to the two of us talk here, because you're like, wow, I get that. Like it's hard to relate to people who are like, I have it all together. My life is so great and I don't have any problems. Like nobody wants to listen to that. Um, reality TV is based on watching other people like,
100%.
crash and burn.
Yeah.
And so it's like this is how we stay relatable, is to be like, hey, here's what's working for me, but like I'm not perfect. I don't have it all figured out. And yeah, I hope when I'm like 87, I'm still not telling myself like I'm a goober for being like to this thing, because my kid, I mean, granted, my kids will be like real grown-ups by then, but like for something, a really good reason happens that like something goes wrong or you're running behind, um, that I hope that I'll have the grace for myself to be like, it's okay. Like you've been sick for 3 weeks. It's okay. Like you couldn't find your kid. Um, but like if not, I do know that I'll still have my tools and I'll still be able to like walk through these same strategies and spend time with people who get it and who are going to be like, hey, I totally understand, Patricia. I get it. That was really hard. I'm sure you're really scared when your kid was missing. You know what? You sure wish he had said something before you went to the bathroom, but hey, like you are a great parent because you were looking for your kid. Like you noticed he was missing.
Yes.
Um, and yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'll have it figured out by the time I'm 90, but if not, at least I have the tools that I have now to give myself the
And I
grace.
was just going to say, some tools don't actually always fit for each individual person too, right? It's just if you look at it as working out, like I hate running and everyone's like, you need to run to let off energy and steam. And I'm just like, that is like my nightmare. Like I literally hated gym class so much in school that I worked the system to make sure I still got a passing grade, the bare minimum. So if that doesn't tell you how much I don't like gym, I don't know what does. But
Yeah.
like I personally, like I know what I like. What I used to like was going swimming. I prefer going into the pool and doing laps. That was my thing. So if you have ADHD and you're like, oh my goodness, I'm looking at all these resources, I don't know which one's for me. It's okay to test them and find one that fit. And kind of the ebbs and flows. It's just kind of like when we're just talking about a little bit of imposter syndrome and or people pleasing. Like you have to figure out your flow on what makes sense to you to kind of like stand up to those imposter syndrome thoughts or stand up to the people when you are people pleasing. What does like no mean to you and how can you build those confident pieces up too? So it's different ways of looking at it.
Yeah, and we're all so different. We all have different backgrounds. We have different family situations. Things that might help you at your job might not at all be applicable at somebody else's job, or what works for your kids may not work at all for somebody else's kids. And
Mhm.
the really cool thing about there being so many people with ADHD is that there are so many strategies and like resources out there that have been shared that you can find the thing that works for you. But yeah,
Mhm.
it is there is that trial and error piece of finding the ones that work for you.
Yeah.
Sure wish that it's like one of those things like, hey, like if I could just tell you the solution for every single person with ADHD, I would be a millionaire. And
Right.
then I would have solved everybody's problems by now. But
Exactly.
it's frustrating. You have to keep trying to find the right things for you. But the good
Yes,
news is there's so many things out there to try in order to find the right solution.
100%. Well, maybe you want to share a little bit of your resources, because I actually was just hovering over your everything link here, because I
Okay.
kind of segues to the resources that you offer.
Yeah, I would say in true ADHD fashion, I got a lot of resources on my website. And so there's there's a lot that are free, there are a lot that are paid, and they're grouped kind of by theme. But the ones that are usually most helpful for people, the first one would be the symptoms list for women or for people who have more of the inattentive type, because
Mhm.
generally speaking, women tend to have the more inattentive type, but that's not a blanket statement. Um, but being able to look through that list and take what's in the DSM-5. And so the DSM-5 is the list of symptoms that a psychiatrist or psychologist, whoever's diagnosing you, they're going to go through this list and say, these are the things that people with ADHD have, so that we can tell they actually have ADHD. And it's important for us to know that the DSM it's like a differentiator list. The
Okay.
the questions on there are helping clinicians differentiate between all the different things. So like they want to be able to tell the difference between schizophrenia and bipolar and ADHD and autism. So they'll make this list of things of how are we going to tell somebody has ADHD and not something else. So this list though can be kind of abstract feeling. So what I did is I took my interpretation of each one so you could have some examples of what that looks like in a grown-up, because generally speaking this list is also aimed at kids. Now they are working, there's a group called APSARD, which is a bunch of physicians who are working towards a list for like a DSM-5 list for adults, but right now this list is aimed at kids. So this resource that's available allows you to look at each item and be like, how does this look for a grown-up? How does this look for somebody who's inattentive? Because obviously hyperactive is so much more obvious. And then there's things in there like how to work on your time management skills. There are items in there for how to work on your energy management and understand like how much energy you're using for tasks, and how do you better like plan out how you can use your energy, so that if you're doing a really high energy task or something that's really draining for you, like for example, I was saying like earlier, I was sending in tax paperwork, like that was really draining for me, trying to figure out like which payments go with which set of papers and what has to get sent. Like that was a lot of stress to me to make sure that like I don't want to mess this up. So that's a high energy task for me. It's very draining. But that means that I need to be gentle with myself later, because at some point I'm going to run out of energy. So how do I make sure that I'm balancing that out, so that I'm not expecting myself to do like draining task, draining task, draining task, and then somehow be patient for my kids come bedtime? That's
Yeah.
not realistic. So there's so many things available there, but I think the ones that are most I guess most popular are the ones with the different list of symptoms, any kind of like time management, daily planning, like putting systems in place for you as a grown up who is not very organized. Um, and I really think energy management is something that's overlooked right now. I think it's one of those things we'll start seeing more and more as time passes, that we're realizing how much more that energy capacity and usage means, especially for people with ADHD, chronic illness, any kind of neurodiversity. Um, I think that's really going to come to the forefront.
Yeah.
That's my future prediction, is that's going to matter a lot more um,
And
for
that's why
folks who are neurodiverse.
yeah. I love that. I like finding things that are repetitive that I hate, for example, and think of like ways how can I automate them or systemize them with
Mm-hmm.
tech. Because I don't know if you has watched prior shows, but my background is also in tech. And so I always like trying to find programs, CRMs that work with me than against me. So things
Yes.
are automated. So for example, like I hate reminding individuals when they miss a payment. Like I hate it because I feel so guilty about it. And this is where the trauma of money comes in. I just did a really good workshop. Talk about kids come in. My dog just came flying through the door. He's like a kid. But I just did a workshop on trauma with money for women. And that's something I became really curious about last year because I found a trend that a lot of my clients were struggling with money. And like I realized too, I have a lot of trauma with money because I'm scared of the CRA. Like I just mentioned, like, don't call me, here's my money.
Yes.
Like I'm paying everything. Leave me alone. I don't want to see your name come in my inbox. So
Yes.
on this point of like just there's different parts that can come up for us in different kind of trauma bits that we might not even know how they come up. And so digging into it and really trying to hone in on kind of like we're saying about moving the narrative a little bit. And that's like the whole presence of what we're just talking about is, I think, giving us grace, learning about the traumas and learning how we can move the needle in certain ways. And then when we have ADHD on top of everything else, is how we can balance those tiers. Because I know, like, if I had like a crazy filled meeting strategy days, I'm exhausted by the time I get the kids and I'm pretty burnt out and I'm already feeling pretty overstimulated. When I finally get them to bed, I'm like, don't touch me. Like, no one touch me.
Don't you look at me. Leave me alone.
Lights off.
Yeah.
I always have all the lights off. My husband makes fun of me. He's like, comes in from the garage. He's like, don't you need some lights? I'm like, I'm okay.
If I need a light, I'll turn it on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a whole course on how to outsource things because a lot of times we're like, I know I need help, but I don't know with what.
Yes.
And so like it runs through like, here's the things that are happening in your life. Like, what are the things that you can safely give to somebody else? How do you give them to somebody else? Because we really weren't meant to do all of this ourselves. That's not how humans were created. We were not created to be like isolated and like relying on ourselves to do everything all the time. That's really exhausting. So you don't have to do it all by yourself. And sometimes we think we have to because other people have told us that. Sometimes we think that there's something wrong with us if we need to ask for help. Sometimes we think, well, I don't have any money to pay somebody else to do this, so I have to do it myself. And there are so many ways that we can be creative and problem solve in things like using tech to remind us of things or remind other people of things, using like bartering things where like, hey, I'll watch your kids on Tuesdays after school if you'll watch my kids on Thursdays after school. Like you can be a problem solver and use your creativity in a way that's not like cut and dry, but it's really hard to access those problem solving skills and all that creativity when you're stressed. When you're
Yes.
stressed, it's just like sheer panic. I don't know what to do. It's just staring at your giant pile of mess and being like, and then it's just like this, like your brain just freezes and you don't know what to do. So
Yes.
in those times, like we got to back up and be like, okay, take care of you first. Take a deep breath, turn off all the lights, like you did, like take care of you so that you can start to think about how you can do things in a different way that serve you so much better
Mhm.
than the struggle bus that can be so easily to climb aboard and get stuck there.
100%. We're already a little bit past the midway point. So anyone just tuning in, welcome to Breaking Norms, Building Dreams. We are live on the United Public Radio Network and UFO Paranormal Radio Network on 105.3 and 107.7 in New Orleans. I told you it's going by super fast. I want to learn about your book. Maybe you can tell us about your book.
Of course, I would love to. I'm really excited about this because that right now there's no resources available for moms and for parents who are struggling with ADHD themselves. There's lots of books on how to parent your kids, but not on how you like take care of yourself. So the book is a like a dual purpose. Like it's understanding why ADHD makes parenting so much harder. And a
Mhm.
lot of the ways that ADHD kind of is like more sneaky when you are a woman someone who identifies as a woman, who's been raised as a woman, the way you've been socialized, and like you mentioned, the people pleasing, all the masking that happens, especially
Mhm.
for those of us who think we're supposed to have it all together, and you have, be able to organize the school book fair and remember that Thursday special dress up day. Like, it's so much that we're expected to do.
Yeah.
So understanding how does ADHD play into that, and where it's making it harder, because when we understand the patterns there, we understand why, then we can do something about it. Um,
I love that.
and like that, understanding like who you are and learning to trust yourself more, because that's one of the most common themes that I find in my clients, is that we've spent so many years thinking that we're doing this wrong, or like we misunderstood something because our perspective is so different and our
Mhm.
level of self-trust is significantly lower than a lot of other people. So how do we build that back up so that we can listen to ourselves and know, like, this is the right answer for me? I trust that, like, when I decide this is the right answer. Like, how do we make decisions easier so that's not this like decision spiral and like weighing all the options for 42 years before we make a decision? So there's
Yeah.
that like mindset piece. And then there's just this practical strategies of things that work and what's worked for my clients and things that they've shared with me. And like, what are those tools that we mentioned?
Mhm.
Like, in one list, so that you can go there and be like, okay, I'm struggling with this. Here's my options, A, B, C, D. And you can pick one and try it. It didn't work. Cool. Go to letter D. Pick that one. Did it work? Nope. Okay, try F. And knowing that then like the ideas are all in one place that you can try, and you're not flipping through like the entire book trying to locate something. So you've got what how does ADHD play into it? How do we take care of ourselves and learn to trust ourselves? And then the practical strategies in a really easy to find way.
I love that. I can't wait for it to come out. For anyone, you said February, January?
Yes, February 2027. So,
Oh, 27. So we have to get
yes.
on
A
the
whole
wait list.
year. Yes. So I've got the waitlist website there that you've put up. My manuscript is due in January. So I'm like a little past halfway writing it, which is
Mm.
really cool to see it come together. And then it takes a whole year for the publishing company to do their bit and, proofread it and copy editing and like how to like arrange it on the page and
Mhm.
design the cover. I mean, I'm learning so much that I did not know about the publishing industry, that's for sure. So,
Amazing. That's so exciting. It's patriciasung.com/book for anyone just listening to us and they can't see the
nice.
YouTube.
That's true.
Uh,
I forget sometimes. I'm like, I can see it. Can't you see it? No, you can't. It's just like on my podcast. Sometimes I'm like, ooh, how do I explain this to somebody who can't see me?
right.
Like, it's a very different skill set than, because I'm such a visual learner. So to be
Yeah.
like, okay, listen, you can't see me, but I am vehemently talking with my hands,
Yes.
waving them around a lot. I got my fidget. Like, it's a different way of communicating, that's for sure.
I know I'm a visual person. Like I need it like if I would have listened to myself like spell that all back out, I'd be like, "What?"
Huh?
Like, it's
Where?
just like numbers. My brain's just like does not want to compute it. Like I
Yeah.
need to just see it. It's probably
Well, if
that's
you
just
Google me, it'll come up, and then it's just /book. So patriciasung.com/book.
well, that's exciting. And that's I love that you found that gap there too for that book because it's so true that you mentioned that we have so many books out there for ADHD and parenting kids but not for ourselves. And
Yeah.
and we do us moms we always get kind of forgotten a little bit. So I love that you're doing this. And also too like a lot of people are saying, "Oh, it's taboo because everyone's saying that they have ADHD. We all have ADHD because it's what TikTok's on and all the social media right now is talking about it." It's like, "No, um there's just more awareness finally about it, and we
Yeah.
as women we had to learn how to mask it for so long, and in the world they were just hyper focused on the males of
Yeah.
how they were showing up, and we just had to sit in the classroom and just quietly kind of like keep it within ourselves. And so like I even can see a bit it's funny because like once I knew I had dyslexia at age 6, but I didn't know the two correlated so much together. until I started this radio show. Because we had someone else who was on who was an ADHD researcher, and she was like, Brittney, you know you have ADHD, right? I was like, no. And she's like, Brittney. I was like, oh, mind blown. But it all makes sense now.
Yeah.
We're literally just playing a board game last night as a family, and my one kid off and on the chair. My other kid's like, and then I'm over there like vacuuming, and my husband's just
Like, is anybody playing this game anymore? Yes, we are all still playing the game. We just don't look
we
like
are.
it.
It's just chaos.
Well, and it's like, I mean, back in the day, the people who caused a problem were the ones who stood out, and those are the ones that got the attention. It was the hyperactive people, the people who were annoying the teacher or getting a lot of injuries because they were daredevils and they're going to the hospital too much. It's like all the people who were causing a problem were the ones who were getting noticed and getting help. And I
Yes.
can't tell you how many of my clients had like a brother that was diagnosed and they flew under the radar because they weren't causing a problem. And that is like, I mean, it makes sense, but it's still
Mhm.
hard. And it doesn't mean that that didn't exist. Just because we didn't know it was there doesn't mean it wasn't there. Like, just like there's plenty of stars and galaxies and what have you in the sky that we didn't know were there. That doesn't like, it's not that they didn't exist back then. We just didn't know they were there yet. And so it clearly there was a lot of autism, a lot of ADHD going on for all of time. Like, I saw the best meme a couple days ago where they were like, "Oh, sure, there wasn't any autism back in the day. Wonder where we got this 10-volume encyclopedia about ferns." And you're like, it's like this really old book. That's like clearly from like the early 1900s. I'm dating myself. The early 1900s. It's like, no, though, yeah, we all had that weird uncle. He just stayed at home, and the people didn't know he was there because he stayed at home. Like, it's not that it existed. You just didn't realize it was there. We didn't call it that. We just called it Weird Uncle So and So. Like, it was there. And now's the time where we're putting all the pieces together and realizing, oh, wow, this is so much bigger than we thought it was. There's, they say it's something between like 2 and 5% of people have ADHD. And I actually think it's closer to 10% because there's so many people who are undiagnosed. So many people who are, yes, they're watching the TikToks and seeing like, oh, wow, that rings a little too close to home. But they're like, but I got it figured out so far. So they don't go ask for help. And so there's so many people that are unaccounted for, but it's not that they don't exist. We just didn't have the measurement capacity or like quality. Like, we didn't know what to look for, and we also weren't trying to find it back then.
100%.
And now we're realizing like, oh, this isn't just the kids who are bouncing off the walls in 3rd grade. It's not just the people who are struggling to function in society in an obvious way. Like, I really think most of the prison system is filled with people who have ADHD. I think most casinos are filled with people who have ADHD. I think most drug addictions are fueled by people with ADHD trying to escape. And so, like, if we can go in and find the connections here and put the pieces together, we can solve so many of the problems plaguing our society because we know what it's rooted in, because we're going to treat an ADHD addiction very differently than just a regular old, well, wow, I don't know why that happened addiction. Because when you can get to the root, all of a sudden it's like, oh, now we can give you the tools to calm your mind and reset your nervous system and like pull your life together because they fit, because you have ADHD, and then all the other pieces start to fall into place. So it's not just that like it was the obvious things back in the day. It's that now we're like, oh, this is affecting so many people in so many ways. And like you said, the moms get forgotten because we're making do, we're figuring it out. But yet the moms are the ones who are expected to do all the extra stuff for their kids who have special needs. You're like, hey, I can't remember to cook dinner every night, but you want me to do these special exercises with my kid and find the special dyslexia paper so that they can print their homework on, and they need to go to karate and get their energy out 3 times a week. And like all of a sudden you're taking this mom who's already struggling, asking her to do 75% more stuff, and then surprise when she's like, I'm burnt out and like want to escape. Well, let's put the pieces together and start supporting the moms who are effectively like keeping things running without them burning out and giving up.
Yes. And I think it's important to kind of outline for anyone listening, it's okay to ask for help. Like I'm really good on like the business side of things. Like I am so like I hyper focus like no tomorrow to get all the things done business wise, but I definitely like struggle with um the personal side of things. Like I have all these things to get in order for the kids. Like my son's going through speech therapy and he's going in kindergarten next year. So I know I need to get all these things in alignment. But like when I start to think about it, I just kind of freeze and get too overwhelmed. And I'm like, I just don't want to do it. So both my kids have been at, why can't I remember the name of it? I feel like my brain's still like getting like back to normal.
All that NyQuil still causing the brain fog too. Too much snot.
Right. It's the part of the children's hospital here locally, and they have like a nurse program. So if your kids are behind in certain milestones, you can sign up for it and they help you till kindergarten. So long story short, both my kids have been in the program. So I've been part of that program for almost 7 years, which is crazy to think that it's almost coming to an end. But what they did for me was, do you need help or extra support just for you? And I'm like, I don't need help. Like, I just like want to.
I'm fine. Everything's fine. I'm fine.
I'll figure it out. And then I was like, no, but maybe I do need help. So they paired me with kind of like a nurse practitioner. Maybe she could be a psychologist. I don't really know. I never really asked. I was just like, sure. At the end of the day, she's kind of acting like an accountability coach partner with me to get the personal stuff done. Because once I see a lot of these paperwork, like I'm trying to get some extra funding in from the Métis Association. So I have to fill all this extra work out to get extra support for speech therapy and like, it's just like, and it's not just for one, I have to do it for both kids. Like, so I just feel like, okay, like I need to take it one step at a time, but even that one step that feels so little, I just don't want to do it because I'm already like tapped out. So having this person, so anyone listening, it's okay to ask for help, and it's okay to find that person to try to help move the needle. And so we realized that it's easier for me to come in personally versus Zoom, and we sit down and we knock out all the things that I need to get done in that 1 hour, 2 hours. Sometimes we block out. So I'm actually like able to move the needle, and I don't leave until we've have some like slotted in dates or reached out to so-and-so, and it's just there, which just reminded me to do something.
Like scribble it on a post-it note on the side.
Yes.
And that like, it's okay that you need help. Like you were not meant to function on your own. That's not how people were designed. Humans were not designed that way. And it's okay to ask for help. You're not bothering that person. And if they do find it a bother, then they're not the right person to ask for help. Because like, how many times do we see our friends struggling with something? Like, they've got someone in their family has a big health issue, or they're trying to care for an older parent, and we're like, hey, like, do you need me to drop off dinner? Or like, can I pick your kids up and take them? So like, we're happy to help when we like know that we could do something. But a lot of times the other person's like, I don't really know what I need help with, or I don't want to bother you. And if we're all leaning on each other a little bit, then it's not a burden. And are also like, and I had a friend tell me like, well, I don't want to ask you for anything, Patricia, because you don't ever ask me for anything. And I realized like, oh, well, I don't want to come off like as someone who doesn't need help. I'm like, but I have my help, like in my business, like I have an assistant. So it's like I asked those people for help and I wasn't leaning on my friends. And I was like, oh, noted. Okay. So I've made sure that like I am asking friends for things, even when it's something tiny, like, like I was mentioning earlier, my kids walked home from school today by themselves. And
Mm.
this was the first time they had walked home by themselves. And so on Thursday, I texted some of the moms that we normally walk like kind of like most of the way with. I was like, hey, my kids are walking home for the first time by themselves today. Can you you don't have to do anything. Can you just like kind of keep an eye out and make sure everything's fine? And it's like
Mhm.
those literally like is no like extra effort beyond like a couple seconds of stress for this mom to be like, did your kid look before he crossed the street both ways? Like that's it. And so even just asking that friend for something really simple
Mhm.
lets you like start asking for help and like showing yourself like it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to like these little ways of like, you go pick up your coffee and they didn't put on like the right lid that like it's like the lid's broken and like rather than just being like I'll just make do with the broken lid is to say like, oh, could I please have another lid? Like those
Mhm.
little tiny requests of asking for help teach us that like confirmation, like just you're saying like, oh, I'm like seeing these numbers over and over again. It's because you're confirming to yourself the things that you're looking for. You see it, and it's like, oh, that gives me like a boost. It's like to do that tiny little thing and ask for help, and the other person's like, sure, no problem. Here's your lid. Sure, no problem. I'll keep an eye on your kid. Like that shows you it's okay to ask for help
Mhm.
and gives you that little boost of like, well, what if I ask for something a little bit more? And then that friend also feels okay to ask you for something.
Mhm.
And so that's how we build friendships, though. If we never need those people and they never need us, like what kind of friendship is that?
Mhm.
So we
Only one
need to ask for help.
100%. It's just kind of like if you're in a relationship, it takes
Mhm.
two. It's not just the one person. So and even a
Yeah.
friendship and vice versa. I was going to say, like, when you were talking about like the lid situation, I was like, what comes up for me right there is guilt. Even though I didn't do anything wrong with the lid or da da da, but I feel guilty asking for another lid because I feel like I'm a bother. So
Yeah.
I know one of my questions for you is like, how do we maybe reframe that a little bit? Reframe maybe that notion or just feeling like we're negative self-talk, perhaps.
Yeah, and then it depends on like where it's coming from because like again everybody's different as to why they feel guilty about that. But it's
Yeah.
like asking yourself what's underneath that. So like when you think about like, well, I feel guilty bothering them.
Yeah.
Like what's the reason that you feel guilty for bothering them?
Hmm.
So like if you think about that.
I guess I'm like, I don't want to be a bother because I already know you're busy and I'll just figure it out. I think it's just like a natural trend.
Yeah. And so it's like so like in that case it's like, well, I'm worried about that other person's feelings.
Yeah.
And so in like the nicest way possible is not your job to worry about their feelings. Like you
Mhm.
don't know anything about them. They might be having a great day and they're like, "Oh, I'm so glad I got to help that lady. That really made my day that I got to help somebody." Or like, like we don't know what they're going through and for us to assume that they are bothered by our request is
Mhm.
presumptuous of us.
Yeah.
They might be like, I don't know, you may have a friend, I have a friend like this who like loves helping people and it
Mhm.
doesn't matter what you ask her. I think she's an Enneagram too. Like she loves helping. And so she feels useful when I ask her for things. And
Yeah.
she really appreciates that I ask her for things. Like she likes that. And some people, yes, some people are going to be bothered by that. And she's somebody who's like, I love helping people. It
Mhm.
really like fills her cup to be
Feels
helpful. So
yes.
in that moment, it's like, it's not my job to be responsible for that barista's feelings.
Mhm.
They, first of all, they probably are like, dude, this is my job. I don't mind handing you another lid. It's literally
Mhm.
what I get paid to do. And if they're having a bad day, like that's on them. They're still there to help people. So it's like you're not asking them for something that's beyond the expectation. It's not like, oh my gosh, this person is going to be so bothered with an extra lid.
Mhm.
Like that extra 3 seconds it takes them to be like, let me wear this. Here you go. Like it's really not bothering them that much. And if it happens to be that they're just having a really awful day,
Yeah.
then it might, but like the percentage of that's probably like less than 2%. 98% of the time, they're like, this is my job. I literally get paid to do this. I will give you
Yes.
another lid. It's that tiny moment, like there's that tiny percentage of like maybe they did have a really bad day. Maybe their cat died and their girlfriend dumped that. Like who knows? But also like in that moment, that might be the moment where you get to like look them in the eye and be like, thank you so much. I really appreciate you helping me. And then you just boosted them. So like for us to assume that they are so bothered by this request is silly on our part. Like it is unreasonable. And when we can say that to ourselves, like that's the logic side.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes it's still like, I don't really believe you, Patricia. It's that practicing that allows us to see like, hey, oh, I'm so like, and it's okay to be like, I'm so sorry. Would you mind giving me another lid? This one's cracked.
Mm-hmm.
And like, if they do really struggle, it's like, uh, it's not on you. You're not responsible for that. It's okay to ask for help. Like you equally deserve a functioning lid.
Yes.
Like as them like having a good day, but like your lid's not the make or break of their day.
Mm-hmm.
And if it is, clearly there was a lot going on
Yeah.
that you were not a part of, the 99% of whatever happened before you showed up.
Yeah.
Like so it's that practicing of like it's okay for me to ask for the lid. This person is not going to be that greatly inconvenienced. And I can say that because I'm that person too. I'm like, I am so sorry to send back this hamburger with cheese because I am lactose intolerant and literally cannot consume this. And I specifically ordered it very clearly with no cheese because I am allergic to cheese, and yet you still gave me the one with cheese. Like I have had to work through that for decades. And it really is just the practicing to be like, it was okay that I did the lid. The person did not bite my head off. And if they do bite your head off, that lid was not the reason they bit your head off. They were having some kind of day before you showed up. And yeah, and it's just the practicing of that. And like some people will have other reasons for it, but it's that like asking underneath, like really what's the reason? Like some people were just told like they had not nice parents and they were told their whole lives, like, you're not allowed to don't bother me. You're a bother. And that's a very different way of like, we would approach this in a different way of like, rewriting that narrative that someone else told you you're a bother when you are not a bother. Like you are a lovely human. And you know what? That barista was probably so excited to have a customer who was like, thank you for what you do every day. You make my life better with this coffee. I really appreciate you. Like there are so many ways that we can rewrite the story that's going on in our head.
Yeah. And sometimes with ADHD, we rewrite it.
Yes, I do.
Oh my goodness, that person looked at me weird. What did I do wrong? What?
And like there's so many times where like we literally have to like remind ourselves that like not every look is about you. Sometimes they're just having a bad day. Sometimes they were like thinking about their that rude comment that the lady at the grocery store made to them earlier. Like we don't know what's going on with them. And so unless we ask and and also that they're in a place to answer truthfully, because sometimes people are in such a place that like they can't answer that question well. But like we assume so much, and most of the problems are not our fault and were not directed at us. And yeah, it takes a while to rewrite that narrative in your mind to be like, you're not a bother. You are welcome to ask for a spoon to eat your soup. You deserve that spoon. It is okay that you bothered that person for a spoon because, like, for example, like when I was waiting tables, if I forgot the spoon, I'd feel real bad that you didn't have a spoon. And I'd feel real bad if you waited 10 minutes for a spoon. Like, I really wish that you would just ask me for the spoon right away.
Yeah.
Because I feel worse that you assumed I would notice the spoon and then I didn't, and then you didn't get to eat your soup while it was hot. Like, please tell me that you need a spoon immediately. I don't want to feel bad about it 10 minutes later that you didn't have a spoon. So like sometimes that asking actually helps the other person not feel bad.
100%. Well, I absolutely love having you back on the show. We're already at time. We're almost past time. I told you it would go by super fast.
I like talking with you.
I know, I love having you on, so we'll obviously have you back. For anyone just tuning in, please tune in next week. We have, I will be live again next week, so if anyone's listening, you're listening to Breaking Norms, Building Dreams. A big thank you to United Public Radio Network and UFO Paranormal Radio Network, and to all the listeners. And another big thank you for Patricia for coming back on. Make sure you sign up for her book that's going to be launched in 2027. I'll just throw it up here again, but you can also follow Patricia on her IG on Motherhood in ADHD, right? Okay.
Yes.
It's like,
And if you just Google my name, Patricia Sung, it will come up. So
amazing.
it's easy to find me. Everything's labeled motherhood and ADHD for very easy finding for people with ADHD.
Amazing. Well, thank you again so much, Patricia.
Thank you.
We'll be in touch to have you back on.
It was so good to talk with you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.